It seems so hard to order. Who can I trust, and how do I even start?
Oh, you just go to sdbullion.com/rp, pick out whatever gold or silver you want, add it to your cart, you can check out, and it's on its way. And they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau.
Wow, it's that easy?
Your first ounce of silver is at spot price, and you get free shipping on any order over $99 at sdbullion.com/rp.
As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
Reluctant Preppers provides educational awareness and commentary only. Opinions expressed do not constitute personalized financial advice. Viewers are encouraged to do their own research and seek qualified personal financial consultation before making investment decisions. Welcome back, Reluctant Preppers. We have a first-time visitor today. We are with Drew Passini. He's the co-founder, together with Mark R. Ward, of the King Dollar Project. Drew, thank you for joining us for this first time on Reluctant Preppers.
Thank you for having me on.
We recently had Ann Bridges on, a Silicon Valley author who wrote the book Groundbreaking, co-authored that book, and she talked about a number of serious dilemmas that the United States is facing, in that we have basically gutted our ability to provide physical minerals that are essential to our well-being of our nation and our security going forward. And but you and your co-founder, Mark R. Ward of the King Dollar Project, are also very concerned about the impact on ordinary individuals of the debt-based monetary system and the suppression of physical precious metal prices and so on. So if we could start off by having you talk to us about that topic that's near and dear to a lot of our viewers' hearts, and that is the suppression of physical metals prices, particularly silver prices. Can you talk to us about what your view is of that and why you think it's serious for people to pay attention to?
First off, if anyone saw recently, the CME Group, which controls the price in USD, which we call debt dollars, just made an announcement that the finite cryptocurrencies will be a problem to their ability to price metals. Going off to the minerals, we have, her concern was that we have only mined 20% of what is under our feet in this country. And when I saw that, I immediately knew that our project will spawn that refining and mining of what is under our feet. And her premise is it'll take years and years through bureaucracy of our slow government, and that will not be the case. I speak with confidence of spending 2.5 years knowing where the future of our value or our wealth is going to come from. And when that is realized and we unlock that, we're going to have a Facebook moment where the individuals will know where the wealth is and where it is not. And the government will have to promote that and allow the mining and the refining. Refining will be a huge part of what we do, which comes back to money and debt. And I believe we have to start with debt. But I can reassure her, her concerns do not exist in the future. So let's start with debt. Everything that we know in this paradigm, in this reality, is finite. Everything. Our lives are finite. That's easy to agree with. Our resources are finite. Easy to agree with. We only have so much time in our lives and time in our days. Okay? Everything is finite. Now there's one thing that is not finite. Am I leading you to it?
Go ahead.
Our currency, our global currency, is infinite. So if we did a Venn diagram and on a piece of paper we jotted down everything we can think about this reality, and we wrote down USD, debt dollars. And then I asked you to circle everything that was finite. That would be the only thing outside of the circle. So that says that this currency that we value everything in, everything, is not of this natural world, is not of our reality. So it opposes everything we are trying to do. And therein is the rub. And I can suppose that this idea of infinite currency was not by happenstance.
Right.
This was done by design. And this goes back thousands of years. Okay? And from there, we have to look at all the problems that we're bombarded with on a regular basis. Just turn the network TV on. Name 10 problems. I'm not going to name them. I don't want to bring them into this moment, into this reality. Okay, but we know that all we're faced with is, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about that? Right? And this weighs on who we are. And the problem isn't with the national debt. The problem isn't with the global debt. The problem isn't with, the environment. Here I'm naming them. I didn't want to do that, but you get the idea. Okay? So, instead of trying to deal with each of these branches of a large tree, which is our reality, why don't we go down to the root of the matter and fix what's wrong that all the things I mentioned are being impacted by? And that's having a debt-based infinite currency that a very few unelected officials outside of our country may create at will and manipulate the price of as they see fit to continue their reign over the planet. So instead of trying to fix each little thing, let's go after the one thing that obviously doesn't fit into this reality. And when we do that, it shatters this reality. Okay, unfortunately, we are conditioned, okay, to do as the last generations have done, which touches on academia. Okay, we are taught about historical trends, and we prepare the next in our generation to fill our shoes in a debt-based system that continues to misallocate resources and restrict our ability to prosper in the future. I don't want to get rolling on you if you want to jump in.
No, that's fine. Yeah, you touched on several important points.
Go
and that is funny because when you were talking earlier about what's not finite, I was going to bring in, well, the way that our currency is generated is essentially virtual, and in that regards is unlimited. However, we use it to measure and to try to store the fruits of our labor, and that's often we've had guests on our show talking about that it's a terrible thing to store the fruits of your labor in, because you're trading your life energy, part of your finite life, for something that you have no control over, and something that is by design and by policy being devalued over time, so that you're being, and that leads to this whole cascade of other effects, like false so-called capital gains taxes on things that haven't gained in value because they've stood still against a shrinking measuring stick, and so on. So and also borrowing from the future, imposing on our children, borrowing from by ever expanding that debt paradigm, basically saddling our children and grandchildren with burdens, and also borrowing forward to our current lifestyle from the future because of that mathematical imperative.
You've hit the nail on the head. There is the crux of the matter. If you look at us as a species on this planet, okay, if you can step far enough back and see us all as one kind of thing, we are, and we say we are, the most intelligent species on this planet. But we are the only species that cannibalizes its next generation to feel secure today.
Mm-hmm.
So we've developed this intelligence, and it's been nefariously turned against the future generations of our species, human beings. Okay, and you said it. We are stealing, you call it money. We like to talk of money as energy, okay, because that's what it is. Energy is in everything. There's potential energy, and we unlock that energy, and it becomes kinetic energy, and then we use that energy as electricity. We use it to eat food, the calories in our body. So everything is energy, and we are stealing from the future in larger and larger amounts,
right,
to satisfy feeling normal today. And what if every parent could understand that? That will help shatter this reality, this paradigm that we're in, and it will unlock the next. Okay, but unfortunately, we've also been conditioned to allow others to decide how we will live. And that is a psyop. Okay, the psyops have been going on forever, but World War II is when Germany really did the first effective psyop and turned an entire country against the world through the advent of video and speech giving. And this was in the other civilizations as well. But when you can start showing it across a network into people's homes, that's when it became very effective. And then all the nations of the world adopted that and tried to use it for good. But unfortunately, because we have the right to choose, most systems that set out to be benevolent become co-opted. And people realize that they can control those systems and get a little more than the next guy out of those systems. And that really starts to layer bureaucracy and class into our species. So what we need to do, and we have discovered how to stop stealing from the future. We have been conditioned to think of an apocalypse. And your show, Preppers, it's right in the name of your show. Everyone's reluctant because tomorrow's going to be okay. And maybe next year, we don't know, but there are people that are going to do something about that. So we're kind of like, all right, I'll take today and tomorrow, let them print money. It'll be okay. I did okay. My parents did okay. So my kid's going to do okay. This is this false sense of security that they put upon us. And I need to tell everyone, the argument of slavery is a joke because we are all enslaved. We are all enslaved to debt. It is why we get up and go to our job. It is why we do not tell our manager, ba, because we need that paycheck. Okay, so in the future, I'll speak in two places here at times. When we can stop stealing energy from the future and package that energy today to be waiting for our next generations, if you can think out time as we become successful with doing that, and it's not hard. It is not hard at all to do. Then we will begin to be seeding excess energy we can collect today in the future for our unborn and our children. And when that moment psychologically arrives to people, we will stop having fear of tomorrow. We will stop having to bite our lips to get our paychecks, to sit in traffic, to buy the gasoline, to buy the suit and tie, to play the game of the last professional generation, because they can throw us out and starve us if we do not do it the way it had been being done. So what we can do now is package excess energy today and put it out in the future, not just for us, but for our offspring. And when you realize there is more energy tomorrow than there is today, then your desire to labor becomes optional. Now, if you don't have to go to work, you're sitting at home. You can choose to sit at home and fill your eyes full of the screens. That's your choice. You can choose to not participate. But we know that there is a certain drive in our human nature to accomplish things. So now, instead of children choosing what they will be, not by the job, but by what will be my fee, okay, now you will decide, I want to do some good today. What can I do? And now we have a species that is looking to improve things around them for their own self-satisfaction, and you soon realize that altruism is what drives the human spirit. Am I?
No, I'm following your discussion there. It's interesting because we've seen you're arguing first of all that we are all subject to debt slavery that we've been born into, and that if we carry that on, just like that old paradigm of your father carried this rock and your grandfather carried this rock and you better carry this rock. It's like, but the problem is it keeps getting heavier and it puts a heavier and heavier burden on each generation.
Well, the debt does that. Look at the millennials. Look at them. They go to college because their parents went and their parents got a decent job. Okay, so the parent, in loving their child and wanting to give them the guidance, the entire younger generation has been convinced, you need to go to college. Well, why is that? It's obvious. It's to keep the liquidity flowing in the debt system. If the government can make as much money as it wants, and it needs to, liquidity is all they care about any longer. That's why they give car loans to people, and they've lowered the credit, no credit, get a car.
Right.
Do they care about their member of the species? No, they just want that money slushing through the system. Because when liquidity dries up, the whole thing starts eating back on itself. And that's what we fear tomorrow. Okay, so with the internet, you can learn more in a weekend than you learn at a week at an institution with one professor teaching you 3 classes a week for an hour or 2. Mm-hmm. You're not wasting the resources. And this is what academia knows they cannot admit to, because what do they want? They need their paycheck. Why? To pay for their home, to pay for their lifestyle. And they've been allowed to believe that they're relevant in teaching what history, what the last showed them. Okay, and we continue to come towards a point, and I didn't get this point across, apocalypse. Okay, that has been attached to a biblical lexicon, so to say, right? The apocalypse is when crazy stuff happens that's supernatural, right? That's the apocalypse, the unveiling, the revealing, everything goes away. The planet explodes. I don't know. What we've identified is people need to think of the apocalypse as an energy apocalypse, whereas we get to a point where we're taking too much from the future that we arrive at a point in time where there's none for anyone, which kind of goes to liquidity crisis. Mm-hmm. Right now, is it going to happen to all the preppers out there? Is it next month? Is it next year? Is it how long do we have? The sad truth of that matter is they can print money my partner hates when I say that. They can create digital USD
sure.
infinitely, but that doesn't mean, we're all going to be okay. That means we just lose value in everything. And if they do it slowly over time, the grandparent can't tell the grandchild how good it was, because the grandchild is seeing how the parent is dealing with the decrease in the value of everything.
Another point that you were making earlier was about this altruism that emerges we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you've got basic, as long as you're scrounging and foraging for survival, that's all you can think about is your safety and your food. And then you work your way up to where those needs get met, and you can start working about artistic things. You can start worrying about, at the very top, self-actualization and really generativity and giving back to mankind.
We can get to the top of that pyramid if we have energy waiting for us in the future, more than we have today.
We don't always see, in this fallen world, we don't always see people respond in that manner, though, when people have to do something by their own labor, whether it's build their own home, that sort of thing. Then they take care of it because they're proud of it. It's a possession of theirs that belongs to them, and they feel like they've got sort of skin in the game. But when like kids get sent, millennials, whoever gets sent off to college, and everything's all provided and paid for by their parents or by government or whatever, there's oftentimes an exhibition of a fallen human nature where it's just kind of like taking things for granted and not treating them responsibly and not really taking ownership. So that's part of a counterbalancing concern.
You're exactly right, and what I've learned is we're taught to feel good. Happiness is what everyone is to try to attain in the moment, to be happy. And I think satisfaction in work, in creating, in putting your hands into your home, so to say, or into your garden, right? Satisfaction has been pushed aside. The idea that you don't want to sweat and get dirty, right? And you don't want to build it yourself, right? We're in a service-based economy now, right? The plumber knows how to fix the pipe. Plumbing, dirty pipes. Hey, what plumbing? I don't want to even think about it. I gotta enjoy something on the screen. Right? So satisfaction is what we need to be after more than others providing a medium of happiness for us.
Right. Yeah, so that's parents having the opportunity to teach their children how to live a life of meaning, a life of purpose, a life of self-sacrifice, that sort of thing. That's where real satisfaction will come from, lasting satisfaction and growth for the person themselves, their soul and everything. So what is this system that you keep alluding to that can get us... We've talked about this for years on this channel, is the pitfalls of our current... The current debt paradigm is full of pitfalls, and it's dragging us all into this vortex. So there's various people have proposed ways out, and one of the most popular ways we talk about on our channel is people accumulating physical precious metals, actually getting acreage and building a farm or whatever, that kind of thing. But what is the system that you're describing?
Okay, and let's go back to the root of the problem. Anything priced in USD. Even if you think you have ownership of that, the value of that is being dictated by the unelected few that have controlled the planet for the past couple thousand years. Okay, so and I will speak to the alternative medium. I don't like to even call it media, because media, we see what media, the network media has ruined the word, right? So after 2008, I began to study economics and finance more than I ever had.
Okay.
I became concerned that the laws of finance were going to have to be allowed to play out. Okay? So I began to prep, and I began to do things myself. And I learned to garden, heirloom seed, put in 2 wood stoves, collected my own firewood, and oh, by the way, is it smarter, if we're the smartest species on the planet, to pay to go to a gym and walk and get nowhere on a treadmill inside under ultraviolet light, or to go out and collect your own firewood in the sunshine, around nature, right? So you get the exercise, it's outside time, you're not sitting in a park feeding the pigeons, and that time you put in at the gym, you walk away, and you paid for that time at the gym. Well, you pay for your saw, your gas, your truck, and you have to have friends that'll help you sometimes, right? So now you're developing community. You bring that wood home, you have to split it, you have to stack it, you have to dry it, you have to protect it from the elements. But that day, collecting that commodity, right? Commodities have a bad name. They're a stock market thing, right? Commodities. Oh, I heard you don't mess with them. The experts play with the commodities. No, a commodity is something that carries energy forward through time, like gold or silver. Okay, so I had to get that out there, that we have to be smart. And if we want to keep our health and not hand off our labor in USD, right, to go. Can you imagine lifting a rock up and dropping it, and lifting a rock up and dropping it, and at the end of the day being like, wow, I really made my life better? That's what you do at the gym, right? So I just wanted to get that point across.
Okay.
I got away from the thought you had. You had. Oh,
I was asking you to paint a different picture for us. Then we know this system stinks, but what system would permit us, other than just say accumulating physical precious metals or building a farm, things that you've done?
Back to USD. USD ruins everything. It has control of everything, and I know a lot about the crypto world. Bitcoin went to, in USD, almost 20,000, like overnight. Okay? Someone may correct me if I'm wrong here, and back to the alt media quickly. I watched every alt media person. Every alternative way to get around the debt system, basically. And you said it, it's a vortex. Okay, it's a vortex. I'm to the point now where I exhausted, and I'm a searcher. I search for knowledge, and I pick up little pieces all over the place, and I'm a conceptualist, and then you cook it. Okay, but the alt media, there's a flaw in everything that everyone's pushing alt media wise. And this is part of this paradigm that we're trapped in. And I'll give you a great example. There's a couple name brand people that sell fear. They look at the charts of USD and they sell fear, and every sale is emotional. Okay, I have corporate experience. I have executive level experience. I was dragging blocks through the pyramid for the 20-some years, okay? Go-getter, working extra hours, always trying to improve the companies, blah, blah. I wasn't just a worker that sat somewhere and got a paycheck and blah, 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 okay? But we have people in the alt media that are using fear to motivate people towards certain things. And now that that's covered, I'm really disappointed. I reach out to a few from time to time, and I have to give you the credit to being interested in that. Someone claiming we have something outside of this reality that our species needs. And I thank you from the bottom of my humanity, because so many have just ignored, and this is the possum effect, right? Those in the alt media are doing well enough that they don't want to hear about anything that might dethrone their expertise, okay? Which brings me to the charts of USD, the charts of crypto. Why would you chart anything when you realize it's a rigged system? There's no supply and demand. Contracts don't settle. We have computers running the activity. Okay, so how do you think you could naturally predict what's going to happen next when it's a group of individuals deciding with algorithms where it needs to be? Okay, why would you waste your time with charts? So I was into the chart porn, they call that, right? Oh, watch the charts, learn, oh, this up, that down, China this, USA that corn futures, this, that. It's all a movie we're watching. It's all scripted, okay? And that's why it bothers me, these chartists, okay? Because we have to stop even talking about the USD charts. We have to stop they're feeding us this information to talk back and forth about. They front run it and we chase it, and they cut us off at the knees on a regular basis, and then they put a little back, so we all just feel like, it's okay enough that I'm going to get up and go to work. I have to. Okay? So the chartists aside, getting to our project, okay, the best alt media people are the people, and you're correct. And by the way, loved your commercial at the end.
That's been really popular, yeah.
Did you produce that?
Yeah.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done. I've done a lot of video editing, a lot of video production. I was in the music, blah, blah, blah. So I know what production is, and you dropped my jaw with that one.
Oh, I'm glad. Thanks.
I just loved it. I just, and it was just beautifully done. It was a moment of art, and art imitates life. So that was great. It really, really got me. Few things get me, and that did. I really enjoyed that. Now, precious metals, they're finite. We know that. That is of the natural law of things. It's finite. Now, hoard silver, hoard gold, keep it under roof. It's incomplete. It doesn't do anything for you in that you can't send it to the mortgage company. Mm-hmm. Right? And of course, all the USD laws of how you can pay for different things, right? They've kept the metals away, okay? But the biggest problem with the metals is what I started with. They're priced in USD, and that price is manipulatable, okay? We all hear it. I'm sick of hearing, oh, well, silver should be this, gold should be this, okay? What we need to do is get USD out of the equation from a data science point of view. Pull USD out of the equation, okay? What's its true value? If it's finite and it's pure, it's an element, okay? Mm-hmm. There's no way to dilute it, mix it down. Now, you can do that with coins, but let's assume we can test and it's correct, okay? So you can put all the silver you want under roof, okay? If the powers that be say it's worth this today, and the person you're trying to give it to says to you it's worth this today instead of what it was worth yesterday, it's USD. It's the same damn game. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay, now, so how? Now silver and gold and all things precious, okay? And even, I argue this point. Wood, okay? Wood, if you keep it dry, will last a very long time into the future, okay? Right. Now, it's used for everything, and the big obvious thing is that some wood burns hotter than other woods. Some woods burn longer than other woods. So I ran into this commodity personally in my life, and I enjoy wood heat over electric or any other kind of air-blown heat around your home. I mean, it's the most beautiful natural heat we've ever had on, bar none. So that also, if it's taken care of, is potential energy that we can seed into the future. Not saying we're using that, but back to the metals.
Well, but on a household level, though, that absolutely is. When you're harvesting wood, splitting it, seasoning it, and protecting it, that you can look at that and go, this is going to keep me warm next winter, or it's going to keep me warm 2 winters from now or 3 winters from now. So it's directly stored energy that you're going to be able to tap in the future. Absolutely.
And yes, I'm a few years out. You want to be a few years out ahead of yourself, for sure. So the metals are the place. It is the weak spot in the line. We're all slaves in a camp to the USD, and how do you separate the price of precious metals from infinite USD?
Okay.
How do you do it? There's one way, and it was tried, and when you try things, sometimes you fail. The Wright brothers, first time they flew 20 feet and the thing nosedived. Guy lived, right? What did we do wrong? We lived through it. Okay, what's next? Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies were an attempt to get independent of USD. And they weren't complete in that they had a few of the qualities that they're finite. And that's a conversation. At least the release of the number of coins is regulated. Mm-hmm. And for all the preppers listening right now, I will give you a really good piece of information here. The coin XRP, which is what they're calling the banker coin. Are you familiar with that one?
Nope.
Okay. We could do a crypto thing, and Mark solved the Bitcoin cycle. Okay. Mark basically solved what he calls blockchain.
This is your co-founder of the King Dollar Project.
Correct. Yes. And just to explain our relationship, we have come to know that there is a hierarchy of math that is not, we don't believe is a sentient being, that math rules supreme. And with that in mind, his concepts were being ignored by those that have been conditioned to accept USD, and anyone that has a voice today anywhere is dependent on USD. And if someone comes out and says, let's do it without USD, those people play possum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so he couldn't break through to anyone. So anyone with an expertise has to look out for that expertise over the good of the species. Okay. So I ran into a video he did online. Someone gave him some time, and I contacted him, and I was the first enabler of his ideas. And what that did was, it took someone that we would call crazy, because no one else agreed with it. You know, crazy means no one else agrees.
Like crazy smart, though, huh?
Correct. So, and of course, they have taught us that enablers are bad people, because I say it's not just a group of people. It's what our species has done to itself. Under USD, the debt has destroyed the way we even perceive things. Enablers, they attach to addiction, if you're aware of that, right?
Yep, absolutely.
If you have an addiction, you have to get away from your enablers. That's the guy that wants to have a beer with you, okay? So basically, you move, productive language into a negative space. And so, okay, so if we're not supposed to enable each other, then what are we doing? We're disabling our ability to work together, because they don't want us to work together.
Well, you might want to call it a facilitator then. You're helping to facilitate the advancement of his concepts.
Thank you. And you know what? In the new reality, the challenge is that the language will be redefined. We're bringing new language on a regular basis. We're discovering new language. And I'll give you a really kind of a neat one here. We take 3 terms: producer, consumer, and saver, and we put it into one word: prosumer. Okay, in the future, you can be any of those 3 and still be generating wealth for yourself. So you can be a saver and still be earning. And in this world, that doesn't work. You don't go to work, you don't get anything. Mm-hmm. Now, savings account in banks, they used to give you 6-7%, and then, well, we put our money in the stock market and we think, oh, we'll get a return on that. But there's risk. There's a ton, and the risk gets worse as they continue to debase the USD. Okay? In the future, we have removed, I'll speak generally, all risk in yield. Okay? Now, the only risk being an asteroid smashes the Earth in half. It's over. Okay? So there's always risk when you do a risk model or something. You got to always think as big as you can, and there always is going to be some risk. But if things go on as they've gone on the past couple thousand years here, okay, across the climate, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, and the earthquakes and things like that, okay, we have a system that will generate yield for everyone all the time. And back to what you asked, if we could take finite commodities, and I don't like to just pin it on silver and gold.
Okay.
Okay, because that's too like, well, oh, then people will just get all the silver. No, it's anything of value that's finite. Okay, copper, zinc, salt, you name it. Whatever is the thing that we need at the time is always going to be finite because resources are finite, and there's a cost for refining and
Sure.
adding, blah blah blah. Fish, yeah, our food is finite, blah blah blah. So if you could take, we'll just use precious metals as an example here. If you could give people the ability to transact for goods and services,
Mm-hmm.
and price those goods and services in silver and gold without putting USD pricing announced by the powers that be, however you want to speak of them, now we have a whole new price discovery paradigm that opens up. Okay? Now, imagine a Facebook moment or a slow adoption, either way, right? I mean, eventually you have a Facebook moment in almost anything. The hula hoop, I mean, anything that appears, air conditioning, right? Electricity, it shows up and, it limps along and all of a sudden, boom, everybody wants it, right? It's a gold rush of its own for that good or service. If you can transact with that and begin to set new prices, you're now challenging the purchasing power of USD. Correct?
You're saying if you can get people to shift their their economy or their interchange over to
their idea of what value is in the moment.
Yep. So that their currency essentially has intrinsic relationship to a finite value itself,
and the desire to acquire.
Okay.
The good or the service. Okay. So that's all well and good, but where does the yield come from?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the stock market's generating a little more, you put it in and your home value goes up and all that. That's false yield. Okay. I always questioned why my parents bought their house for $62,000 and it's probably worth like $700,000 today. That just, I chewed into that math to try to figure out what happened over time. It should be this, right? It should hold kind of the same value.
Same house, yeah.
But you can build more houses and it's complicated. Silver, on the other hand, or gold, is finite, as you know. So if we could get enough people using a finite commodity, how many people are on the planet? How many people touch silver and gold? And think of it as a commodity, as something they can exchange for, and something that will hold its value over time. If you have 1 billion people desiring silver, okay, it has a value, right? It has it'll have and forget USD, it'll have a value. What happens when the next billion people desire it? Its value increases because it's finite, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when 5 billion people desire it? The value, it goes to infinity. Not infinity, but scientifically, it kind of goes to infinity. So here we take something that has been mispriced in USD, okay? And if we can break the price free of the precious commodities, the desired commodities, right? In time, in the future, forward, more people will desire them, thus driving the price or the value, not the price, the value of them up. Okay, so all of a sudden, today, 10 silver coins gets you this, but maybe a certain amount of time in the future, a quarter of a coin will get you the same thing because it's so valuable, you don't want to ever give any of it up. Okay, so where does that yield come from? It comes, now this goes back to blockchain. Okay, got to speak on the cryptos quickly. I'm under the impression, and I believe I'm correct, that when Bitcoin got up near 20,000 and ETF and extended trading fund was allowed, I believe in Sweden. Now, I'm not sure on these details, but when that was put into play, what that did was it allowed traders in the debt system stock market who trade with money that doesn't exist,
Right.
on contracts that don't settle,
Right.
And then they have computers backing them up just in case it all starts to go to hell, right? So once they instituted the ETF, if you look at the Bitcoin chart, it just comes down in a staircase.
Yep. After the futures trading was started on that. Yep.
They put a leash around it. They said, we are in control of it. And then they walked it down to about 3,000 USD, right? And everyone went, oh, see, it's volatile. Oh, that wasn't real. Well, what did they do? That was the PSYOP. They had to make us think that that didn't have more value than USD. And they do it for good intention because of balance of power and how ingrained the USD is in protecting ourselves, protecting our communities, paying for roads, paying for national defense, trade. You know, there's this fear of disorder that we would have a cataclysmic avalanche of disorder if we sidelined USD. Correct? I mean, that's the fear. We don't want people running around not being able to get food. We don't want people, going crazy that they can't get the goods and services, their medicines, everything, their fun, their vacations, the airplanes flying, the fuel, the whole deal, this paradigm. So you can't just turn USD off and turn something new on. It can't work that way. Okay, so Bitcoin and all that, all the cryptos, if you notice, all the cryptos move together. If you look at a crypto page where they have every coin,
Yep.
okay, it's obvious it's rigged. Okay, those aren't humans. Of every coin, it just jumped today, past 2 days. All of a sudden, it just went up. Those weren't humans deciding to buy. We didn't all just get a psychic vibe that said we're all going to buy, and then we all stopped buying at one spot. It doesn't work that way. Those were the computers adjusting it for reasons that are global and blah, blah, blah. Point is, forget the coins for a second. It's my assumption that all the coins are equal in value. Okay, they all have different USD prices. Okay, but they're all equal in value. They're all sneakers. They just have different brands on the outside. Now, the crypto guys will say, "Oh, this has this technology. We have
different
this
utility." Yeah, sure.
I agree with that. I'm oversimplifying for everyone listening that doesn't really understand the cryptos, because I studied those hard too. Behind the coins, the whole concept of decentralized, distributed ledger, and this is the huge word for everybody that's still listening, immutable ledgers. Immutable means you can't go back and change them. Immutable means you can't manipulate them for tomorrow. Immutable means carved in stone, right? And when you decentralize those ledgers, which means anybody that buys Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin, a little bit of the accounting ledger and the history of that coin is on everyone's personal device. And it's chopped up into pieces, and it's redundantly spread out amongst the hundreds of or millions of people that have that blockchain on their device. Okay, now you can't reel all that back in, which brings me to the quick point that the computer was man's, not first, but his first attempt to create his own brain. Okay, and well, what were the first networked then the computer? Then they said, well, the brains need to talk to each other like we're talking to each other right now. How do we do that? Okay, we'll have a central server, and then everyone will plug into a server. Okay, and we'll all be terminals off the server. And corporate America adopted it. It worked great. Okay, problem with that is you can smash or destroy the server and all the nodes go dark. Okay, so the server-based environment was the first iteration of trying to recreate the human brain. You can argue first, second, third, fifth, whatever. Now, blockchain is the refined, how do you say when you create some manifestation of of how our brains function and how we can tell 5 people that we know something and then it's redundant. Then you have to go find all 5 people and hit them over the head to get that idea out of the consciousness of the people. Okay, well, the coins are compromised by the algorithms, okay, by the USD, by the debt system, the markets, but the blockchain technology is decentralized to the point where you cannot reel it back in. So forget the coins a moment. Let's take the precious metals and put them on a decentralized, which is anti-fragile. If half the world got hit with a solar storm, the other half of the world would still have all the pieces of the ledger. Okay? It's not just you have one piece and I have one piece. The piece I have, 5,000 other people that have Bitcoin have. Okay, so it's anti-fragile and it rebuilds itself. The blockchain communicates with all the computers and reassembles itself. So it's like trying to kill ants with your shoe, right? They're just going to keep coming out.
Oh, they do.
Absolutely. So that technology. We can now connect the physical world with the digital world. Okay, and you have to connect in the physical world, you have to connect finite things, right? So I don't want to go out too far. I'm trying to acclimate everyone. And if anybody that's still listening, we're giving away a third of our project for free to anyone that wants to send us an email and, send an email. I don't want to be on any lists. Well, we also have torn apart the whole Twitter, Facebook, YouTube thing, and that they have been, and big data. Okay, they've been collecting our information. They censor. They're centralized. They have people deciding how much we should communicate, which comes to our law of, we have come up with a law, the species law of energy transfer. Okay, and that's one of 2 we're combining, and that was not the one I wanted to reference. The other is the addition law of knowledge. And what the big social media platforms are doing is they're restricting our ability to share, be free thinkers and problem solvers and solution brainstormers. Okay? We've solved that as well. And the reason we ask for an email from people is we want everyone to be in direct communication with each other across blockchain when the project comes online. There will be no censoring, and we will not be hosting a Facebook, a YouTube. We're not going to do that. We are going to bring in appendages. We are going to connect goods and service companies that will do that. Okay? But they will not have a say over what they think should be or should not be communicating. And when you start putting knowledge on an immutable ledger, there is no going back in time and rewriting our history, which is another thing that's been done to us to restrict our knowledge and make us go get the USD. And that is the crux of the matter. So we are able to put finite, precious, and desired elemental commodities on blockchain. Okay? Now, where's the yield come from? Transaction fees. Okay? And everyone thinks, fees, that's like a toll on a road. Well, that's no good. No. You need to pay for the electricity, number one. The electricity doesn't pay for itself, and that's why Bitcoin is not the best protocol to transact, over the counter to buy goods and services, high volume purchases, okay, because it's very expensive and very slow, okay? So we have everyone that will use the King Dollar digital certificates representing finite, precious, I call them commodities, but of course it will be the metals, okay? There's every time I want to buy something, there's a fee involved in sending that information to the person I'm buying it from and me getting a confirmation. Our fees are pennies USD. God, it's hard to talk about in the new world.
You could just say a fraction. A fraction
of current fees today. And when we get enough people transacting, and that will happen by just, it will be a Facebook type moment, because when a few people realize the value, they're going to tell somebody else, and then they're going to want to use this transaction medium in secondary transactions, which are like Craigslist, Nextdoor, or just buying something at a flea market. Mm-hmm. Okay, the secondary transactions are non-commercial transactions. You're aware of that? That was something I learned just in the past 6 months, secondary transactions. So that's where a saver doesn't have to transact, but if you're just holding our certificates that will represent precious metals 1-to-1, not a fraction like is going. The banks having to only have 10% of what they're moving
fractional
around.
Reserve lending, yep.
It has to be 1-to-1. Okay, so the transaction fees of the fee we capture per transaction, we then divvy that fee up by percent, and a percentage of that fee goes into a pool, and the pool is everyone that is holding a certificate of the currency. The certificate, which means you're holding a certificate for redeemable certificate for a precious metal. Okay, so all you need to do is to get skin in the game is to have some precious metal and have it represented on the blockchain. Okay, and then as the volume of transaction fees increase, the amount I will get from everyone out spending, right? Because people are spenders, man. We like to buy stuff. We need to buy stuff. We can't do it all ourselves, right? Vacations, travel, everything retail, everything consumer. Okay, I can sit at home and do nothing, and if I have a stack of silver represented on the blockchain, I will get yield, no risk yield. It's not a stock. It's not going to go down, because as the value is realized, the transactions will increase to the point where the yields will increase and the value of the commodity you're holding will increase. And all of a sudden we realize we're safe tomorrow, and my children are going to have more value than I'm going to realize in my lifetime. And here I'm going to, ready? At that point, when we arrive at that point, school will be optional. And the children, and through our network, as we allow free communication, which is why you send the email, and I have to tell you what you get quickly then. We joke that there will come a time when the children will all get up and walk out of the schools.
Many of them are. I think you mentioned the millennial generation assuming that they have to go to college, but I think there's just as many now that are starting to question, why should I go to college if I can get all the information that I need online and that sort of thing. So I think you're seeing the beginnings of early adopters there. Drew,
that's optional. That's next level education.
Right.
I'm talking about K through 12.
Yeah, well, you're talking to a homeschool father of 5, so you're preaching to the choir.
Everyone, do you know what? In the new reality, in the new paradigm, 1 if not 2 parents can stay at home.
Right.
Okay, and you know what? You know what college does? And this is my personal opinion. It takes the children away from their lineage in the years they need the guidance the most.
Schools do that as well, yes.
So we have the yield, okay, and we have the finite way to do it, and people are always looking for a better price, better value, and an infinite currency like the CME group just announced cannot compete with that. And it's not an overnight success. So it's a slow transition where value is realized somewhere else and you start fishing over here instead of over here. And as that starts to weaken USD, we're a species. We adapt to that. The only people that get hurt are the people that really made out crazy good with USD. And you know what? They're going to have to learn, right? What are they going to do? You can't beat back a decentralized anti-fragile system. So if you can't beat them, you join them. So what do? You take your USD and you get silver with it. And all of a sudden the price of silver is going up. And so the point is, anybody that's prepping and holding silver or gold or any of the precious commodities, you're good. You're an early adopter and you don't even know it yet. Okay. Now there's a question of how do I know how much silver someone has, and I'm not going to go into the details. I'll leave that for Mark. Okay, because this is pretty much his baby, and I've knocked the edges off it. You know, he chisels, I sand. It's great. We're taking ground like we can't believe, and this is all sweat equity. We're not doing an ICO. That's a whole strange thing that kind of came and went. Okay, but the future. What has gone on since we went off the gold standard is that we should have entered a natural renaissance period, okay? And instead they just tightened down they ratcheted down whatever the gates for us that we can't push through. But you know, if you go back to Jurassic Park, life finds a way, right? And there's so many other moving parts to this, but we're very confident that we have won in the future, and not in a proprietary sense, okay? But we can all win in the future, okay? And that disturbs people that have a lot of things, right? Because the other thing is the sunk cost fallacy. This is another thing that we've come up with, and it's the idea that if you're in a cult, every month you're in that cult, you're investing time to the point where when you come liberate a cult, a destructive cult, the people sit there, they don't want to leave, right? Because you've put in too much time. Okay, the older half of our species, absolutely, we can't get economic academics to talk to us because it threatens all the effort of them dragging their blocks in this reality, and they got there and they feel real proud and good of that, you know. But when you lay this out to the younger half of our generation, it's like intuitive. They're just like, oh, okay, when's it happening? You know, because they haven't been conditioned or put their time in to a slave system. What we're in is modern neo-slavery.
Right. Another quote is due here, and that's another line from Jurassic Park, where the paleontologists realize that they've recreated living dinosaurs, and they say, now I guess we're the fossils. So yeah, the people who put their whole life into the debt paradigm and the debt slavery system, it's really hard to come to grips with the fact that there can be liberation from that. Drew, we are out of time for this episode, but for people who really want to find out more about the King Dollar Project, where do they go?
Let me pitch quickly why to get in line and why to send an email. We're giving away a third of the company in a decreasing ladder formation. Okay, you get certificates for future yield or future prosperity of the project. Okay, you don't pay anything. You just send an email and it says that you support this solution, and You'll get a return email, and then you're in the communication loop, and we send out every other week, we'll send out some information to you to let you know how the project's going. And here's how we're incentivizing that. The first 10,000 people will get 19 energy rewards, okay? And there will only ever be 1 million energy rewards. And there's 8 billion people on this planet that are going to eventually be participating in this system. Now I'm speaking at the very edge of what it could be. Point is, there's 1 million. If you're one of the first 10,000, and we have a couple thousand people in line, you get 19 energy rewards. If you are the 10,000th and first person, you only get, I believe, and it's on the website,
Okay.
0.7. So the first 10,000 are getting 19 full energy certificates. If you miss the first 10,000, you're only getting a 7/10 of 1. And then if you're in the next 100,000, I believe it drops to 0.04. And then the next million is 0.02. But that ladder is where you send your email. That ladder is right below there. You can look at that. And we know the yield is going to be so great with this that we don't want to buy yachts. We don't want to buy all this. We're not chasing the things. We want everybody to have, because if everybody has and everybody's transacting, we're good to go. And let me close with something my father said. He wasn't a very whimsical person, but he once said, money is like manure. He said, if you don't spread it around, it doesn't do any good. And that's what's not happening today. Everyone's got 2 hands around.
Oh, we lost you.
What if the more we spend it, the more we got back, kind of. Okay, so our website is kingdollar.money.
Okay, that's a new one. Okay.
Absolutely. And we also have a YouTube channel, and I will warn everyone, we have taken an asymmetrical approach, especially on our YouTube channel. And what we're trying to do is crack people out of their current reality and how they perceive things. So we are not commercialized. We are not politically correct. We are not profane in any manner, but our videos are very entertaining and they're very shocking because we're trying to wake people's souls up. And we want people to look at our videos and go, wait, I got to watch some of that again. What was that? Okay, so we're trying to rekindle the human spirit in our videos, but we do have many technical videos on how the systems work and et cetera and so forth. But we're trying to connect with human beings and get their gut back in line, because it's all about the intuition and the gut. So enjoy our videos, but be ready for them to be nothing like a commercial you've seen on the networks.
Yeah, I checked that out. It's very experiential. It's almost like performance arts. It gets you at the emotional level. Yeah.
Thank you very, and I really, my whole goal of this, and I have to thank you again. And what we're going to do is okay. Just back to our project very quickly. We are using one level referring. Okay, and this is not a pyramid scheme. That's the first thing that has been drilled into our heads. Oh, pyramid scheme. No, what we're trying to do is get people in line for the project. And here's how it works: you submit your email, and then here's the other beauty. You will love this, and every other social media person, every other alt media person should just jump on this. You have put your labor into collecting a following. You're a shepherd of sorts. People turn to you, correct, for information, right?
Sure.
They count on you to bring them new grass to graze on. They don't go find it themselves. You do that. Are you being rewarded for that? Really meaningfully? Not as well as you should be. And that goes for everyone else that spends their time doing what you're doing right now. Okay, so after you sign up, you then, and this is the most obvious thing that no one's been able to capitalize on. Everyone has a social network, a digital social network. Everyone has a human network. Okay, how do we monetize those? Well, it's simple. You sign up, and then you use your airwaves, your flock. They listen to you. They turn to you for information. You know, you're not ruling over them. You're just saying, hey, try this grass. Hey, look, I found this grass. I'm a pasture you found. And you're giving it to your flock to graze on. Maybe they don't like it. Maybe they do. If we get tons of hits, you'll have us back on because this pasture's fertile. And then you'll get more viewers. Point is, you then give your code, or you can substitute it with your email address, so you don't even have to get a code from us. It's just a 5-digit alphanumeric, okay? And you push out your code to your network. And anyone that then gets in line and gets their energy rewards, which you've just made their future by telling you found something, information, right? And you gave it to them. Well, you should get something for that. You'll get 1% of all their future transaction fee when they buy something at the store, or they buy a good or service, or when they trade, if they trade a cryptocurrency using our medium, you will get 1% of everyone that uses your code lifetime forward. Now, that person that signed up with your code may then give their email or get a code from us and give it out to their social network. And you're basically being rewarded yield for sharing knowledge of how to save our species. So you win, and then if they want to participate and tell everyone they know, they win. And of the 100 people they tell, or 1,000 people they tell, those people all can then go out to their networks. And now we've decentralized the energy certificates. And these are the first adopters that didn't fear the systems, that see the promise in cryptocurrency and understand there's a better world, and all they need to do is tell other people about it and send an email in. So I'll get you a code, and then you can push that code out, and that goes on an immutable ledger. So you will be updated on how many people you brought to this, and anyone else listening can do this. And that's the way we seed the knowledge of the project without paying $1 of advertising to anyone, third party. We share knowledge, and we all win in the future. Thank you for giving me all this time.
We've been speaking with Drew Passini. He's the co-founder, together with Mark R. Ward, of the King Dollar Project. You can find them at kingdollar.money. Hey, Reluctant Preppers. If you haven't heard, we've already started our monthly 1-ounce U.S. Silver Eagle thank you gift to one active Patreon subscriber each month, signed by your host, Dunnigan Kaiser. And you don't want to miss out on that.
Please help us grow by subscribing today at patreon.com/reluctantpreppers.